That was me going to Boston. Oh, Art. Yeah, that's it.
All right, great. Welcome back to Talent Talks. I'm Jonathan Reynolds, your host. It is a privilege to sit with my next guest here today. I'm really looking forward to this one. Not that I wasn't looking forward to anyone else, but anyway, just some people you're around, you're like, this is going to be fun. So we get to talk and have guests on the show here from all different backgrounds, walks of life, who've journeyed well and maybe journeyed not well at times. And we get real, we get raw, but hopefully you'll get something from this that you can find that stirs you, motivates you, drives you as you journey through your life. I am sitting here with Art Serna. I say art. Americans say art. It is A-R-T. Art Serna, CEO of City on a Hill in Milwaukee. Welcome to the studio.
Jonathan, thank you for having me.
It is good to have you here. So, no real preview on this one. I just like to get real, get raw, find out what's going on in your journey. But give us some sound bites of your journey, broad as anything. I'll go.
Yeah. So I think first of all, what gets me up every morning is the mission that we're on. And so at City on a Hill, we like to say we're in a generation building mission to improve childhood poverty one family at a time. And for me, that goes back to this moment early growing up with my two parents working, struggling with the heart of an entrepreneur, but never the skill set or resources to pull it off. So what that meant for them practically was with limited English, trying to achieve the American dream and working late at night. Yeah. And so for me, television was a babysitter for a long time. And I have this vivid image in my mind of staring out the window and longing for comfort, longing for them to arrive, to get home. And I think in our minds emotionally, like it gets amplified. But for me, it's a memory that almost there's pain in that. But in that, it developed this I would call it like the journey of the entrepreneur almost. Out of that pain came the longing, like there can be something better. And for me, that's the building of generations. And I knew there had to be a better way to achieve stability. Yeah. And so I've been on this long life journey to do that and to bring people around me and to be with people that want to make the world better. Just out of that one memory as a child. Wow.
Oh, you said so much in there. Talk about pain. You use the word pain. Some people have a high tolerance for pain. Someone has a low tolerance for pain, but I think everyone could relate with the word pain. But what did that look like for you?
For me today compared to before, so in the work that we do, we have to walk the journey with like a mom who just learned that their teenage daughter committed suicide. That just happened this week. And so we need to fully be present with someone. I think we need to learn how to go through some things ourselves. And in my life, I wouldn't trade my journey for anything because that journey of pain, of loss, of feelings of inadequacy, of things over time, they've taken me to the place of coming to the end of myself. One, being aware that there were limits. And so pain for me, it's both like the physical of staying up late at night or grinding through some project. Like there's pain in that, but there's also emotional pain of being able to grieve something that you will never get back. Like the time with my dad in the struggle, coming to recognition, like I'll never get those years back. And I've got a great relationship with my dad now. But there's an aspect of my life in childhood that I'll just never regain. And coming to grips with that reality. And then working hard to say, how do I do that different for like my son and my daughter nowadays? And for me, I have to go in my heart to those places of pain, and it's layers and layers upon layers. So those are some of the definitions for pain in myself, coming to grips with loss and different layers, and then finding an expression to then show up for somebody else in their journey of pain.
How do you, I mean, you took pain, took your relationship with your dad as a kid. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Correct.
How do you reconcile and restore that to be able to walk forward? What does that look like?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Sure. I think regardless of your place in life and where you're leading, whether it's a, Fortune 500 company or it's a nonprofit, social enterprise, whatever it is, I think what I'm learning from like the Gen Z and my kids generation, right? They want to belong and they want to find meaning, and they're looking for leaders that are authentic and genuine and show up with like create conditions of being present, but not just present like I'm available, but it's like you're vulnerable and you're open. So for me, it's meant being able to find other men and other leaders that are on this mission to look deeply, like put up a mirror and say, who really am I? And where am I falling short? And not being afraid to ask those hard questions and finding the gap. Like I truly want to be this type of leader or this type of the person in the world, but I'm recognizing that, man, I might be like 70 steps behind that. And to get to that, it's a journey of risk and adventure. Are you willing to go there? And I think you need a community of people around you to go do that. And I've been able to find over time people on that similar journey that can go there with me and support me when I can't by myself go into that place.
How the heck do you find, I mean, when you come to the realization, there's pain, there's hurt. I'm not living in this lifestyle that I would hope. How do you find those people who can help you, could go before you, say 70 plus steps ahead of you? Where are they? How do you find people that you look up to and think you can help me get there?
That's a great question. I can tell you how I found some people over time. I think for one is being able to, for myself, verbalize the need for that as I go to different places, like defined what is the thing that you're asking for, really. And then sharing it out in multiple places and just see where there's actual synergy, where somebody says, hey, I caught what you said, what you put out in the world. I caught it. And I want to learn more. I want to pull on that thread with you. And then taking that next step. And it's meant different things in different times in my life too, where it's meant like a group of leaders meeting for coffee, meeting for breakfast before the day starts, and just taking that invitation, putting it out there, seeing where the tug is, and then taking that invitation, taking that next step, to like doing research, putting in the time to say like, where are these groups of people out there in the world, and they're just making the time, carving out the time to pursue it, to pursue the time and pursue somebody else that's on that mission.
That's amazing. In the last few years, I had this realization, because I've had the privilege of finding people who've gone before and I look up to, and like, hey, like you're saying, have breakfast, grabbing time with people and get to ask them questions of how they've led, how they've maybe regretted, how they've their definition of failure, learning from other people who's gone before you. And as those people started dying, I'm like, oh no. Like my world is starting to fall apart. I'm like, these people that have been mentors to me and I've looked up to, and then I realized I get to be that for other people as well. I get to be that for people who've come through stuff. I'm just thinking of all the work that you have done on your journey, and you've traveled the world and been a rescuer of people who are stuck, and they've not been able to see people who've gone before them. They don't even know there's anyone out there who cares about them enough to help them. they don't even have the courage to ask, can I have breakfast with you? I want to learn from you.
Yeah.
Because they've not even known any example of anyone who's been reaching out or caring for them. Talk a little bit about what your journey of kind of the roles that you've played. I know you came to Milwaukee, Wisconsin recently. You moved there for a reason. Prior to that, you did some pretty cool stuff. Can you talk about your journey, some of the things that you've done, and what's kind of led you to the next move?
Yeah. I just remember when I was at the University of Texas, I was part of a college group, right? They had a speaker come in and they were talking about work that businessmen were doing in Argentina. Argentina was struggling economically. They were going through some very tough times. And there was just this movement of people in their community that were loving in their community, had a different vision for their nation, and were having breakfasts and lunches together and trying to reimagine a new future for Argentina. And so he came and he shared, and I was like, whoa, I want to learn about that.
Yeah.
And so I took the step, like that thing of like pulling on a thread and saying, I believe I can go do that. As a 19-year-old man, got a group of buddies and we said, we're going to go with this group to learn about the experience in Argentina.
Yeah.
So I went out, got on a plane, and just the benefit of being bilingual, both in Spanish and English, put me in places where leaders of the nation were saying, hey, we're doing this gathering. We need a translator. Can you come? I mean, they were whisking me around from one business meeting to the next and sharing a vision for their nation. And for me at that time, I was like, this is gold for me. And I came back and my world had just expanded. For one, I saw a level of poverty that I was unfamiliar with in certain settings. And it just broadened my worldview. And expanded my capacity to my heart, even to appreciate something and to dream bigger. And so that was a powerful moment in my life that changed the trajectory of what I chose to do over time. And I came back to say, similar to what you said before, but also reflect on times where father figures or leadership type mentors in my life, their life was cut short. And the pain eventually became like, what I'm seeking may not fully be there. Like I have to become what the world needs, if I can say that. Like I have to live.
You can say that.
I have to live in the future. I have to dream. And I've heard it said something like the terminology of prophetic imagination. You've got to live in the future, see it, and then become what's missing in the world. And as part of my journey of pain has been like, I remember my wife's dad. And even as I related to my biological father, who I know loves me, but there was just a journey for us there, that this man, as I came in, my father-in-law, passed because of cancer early. And I remember the final days of his life, walking that journey with him. And he died several months before my son, my firstborn, was born. But just the pain of that loss of what could have been, and for him, and then for my son, and then for me. And then when I chose to move from Oklahoma City to Milwaukee, I had this global leader, like entrepreneur, leader of leaders. And I went to him with the decision, like, Tony, like we've got this opportunity to move across America. It's like risky. Like, I don't know anyone. It could fail miserably. What do you think I should do? And so he guided us through that decision. And I remember we were committed to walk it out together because he started many ventures, global ventures over time. And we made the move. And I remember he was having his first leaders conference that I became a part of. And I was sitting in my Airbnb, had flown from Milwaukee to Dallas, was sitting in bed, was about to shut my phone down for the evening. I was going to see him tomorrow. And I just happened to see in social media something, the bleep from his family, just saying, we're sorry to say that Tony Miller tragically passed in Oklahoma City today. And I just sat on that bed dumbfounded. And I was like, no, like this is a joke. And it realized he died early,
Yeah.
died young. And, I mean, I was there, I was supposed to see him the next day in Dallas. And so going through that loss
Yeah.
and what he meant to a generation, to say like, okay, we have all his teachings and his trainings and his lessons, but it puts it on us to then, how do you become and live into the future?
Mm-hmm.
How do you begin to realize and pass that legacy on? And so those have been some of the moments, I guess, that have shaped me in my leadership over time. And so I feel this, I wouldn't call it a burden, but a tug to say like, show up for this generation. Like they need to see you show up.
Yeah.
Say,
I have Tony Miller used to put my kid to sleep. His little bedtime meditations on my phone. He's got a great voice, hasn't he?
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway, side note.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, no way, Tony Miller. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, okay. You just started talking about showing up for those who don't have somebody.
Yeah.
Talk about that, because that shaped a lot of your professional world, if you will.
Yeah.
The work you did when you were in Oklahoma City, the work that motivated you to come to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I want to know what is it you do? What do you do?
So when I was in Oklahoma City, I was working for an organization, Teach for America, that was recruiting leaders from all over the world.
Yeah.
I'd say, you dedicate 2 years of your life, do something incredible for your generation. And we were looking at 30 years of research that, children today growing up in Black and brown communities were still lacking a lot of the resources they needed to thrive. Mm-hmm. And I knew that education was not going to be my lane. Yeah. So I contributed the time that I could, but I wanted to get back into being on the ground with families. I believe like the family unit is one of the most catalytic transformational agents in the world. And I wanted to go do that full time. Like, how do I show up for families and help them reestablish a strong foundation so that they pass on a family legacy over time, because of the power that I've seen in my own family within one generation. Yeah. We're like light years away from my grandparents' generation and the role that education had and business and entrepreneurship. And so at City on a Hill, we like to empower heads of households to say, take control back in your health and your economic stability. Because even if you're making money, but you die early, that's no help to anybody. And to those that are relying on you, given my journey, right? Like they miss out. So you got to take control of your health, both mentally, emotionally, physically. And so we help families who maybe are lacking resources find the means to do that. And then also we come alongside the next generation, children ages 6 to really 24, and put alongside their head of household all sorts of supports, life skills, training, help them see the world and their role and function in the world, and empower them to do that. So just give you an example, this year we'll be doing 4 youth entrepreneurship workshops across the city of Milwaukee. We'll rotate around different parts of the city. Yeah. And I want to share my DNA of my journey with different young people in Milwaukee, and then help them go through a journey for about a year to say, how do you find your function and your purpose? Yeah. And then learn skills like lean processes and manage. How do you tackle a problem that's complex? Because everywhere we go, either some people are so fatigued to say these problems are so complex, like we've thrown money at it and like we don't know what to do, like we're out. But I think this generation wants us to solve those problems. Yeah. So I'm on a mission. Part of it is to equip them to do that. How do you find your way in the world, to dream big and then to get active? And so lean processes and it's part of what we want to gift to the next generation in Milwaukee. We want to connect them with mentors that are on a journey, that have started businesses, grown them, multiplied them, sold them. And then next year, 2024, as we go through this activity, we'd like to identify a small cohort of them to invest funds into. So there's many iterations of entrepreneurship accelerators in Milwaukee. There's just not as many for young people. And so we want to kind of take that early phase and stage and almost gift the city
Yes.
this generation of creatives.
You light me up, man.
That are
It's
saying
just
like,
lighting
I
me
can't,
up.
you came too late, right? Like I'm urgent
Yep.
about this because for many of the young people we work with, it's like a life and death situation.
Yes.
They have siblings dying, you know, all of the stuff.
Yeah.
And so we believe that they're best set up because that's the hero's journey. They have the pain to fuel them and to say like, I'm going to take something, create the next thing because it's my life depends on it, right? Or their future.
Yeah.
Life. So
Yeah.
that's what we,
Part
of what we do.
I want in.
Awesome.
Come on. I mean, we should probably just end this right now. Let's go. Well, let's go to lunch first and talk about how I can get involved. No, I mean, this stuff lights me up. I think many of our listeners as well are part of growing businesses, growing teams, leading people.
Yeah.
And we want our life to count. We want it to matter. At the end of our days that we did what we were created to do.
Right.
We have so much. Most people who are listening to this have abundance.
Yeah.
Of resources, of tools, of time, of health, of things that they've been given, and want to take resources and sow it into good soil that it does well. And what you're describing there, a couple of things you talked about. There's this kind of word which is like there's a systemic problem, and then there's what it sounds like you're doing is tackling it on a one family at a time level.
Yep.
Is that right? Am I hearing what you're saying? Like you're saying we're gonna beat this thing by looking at it one family at a time.
I love what you said. I think there's an importance in showing up for the one and being fully present. There's this dynamic of relational commitment, intimacy that is important at the one-on-one level. But it was what is undeniable as we engage with heads of households and young people is that it is incomplete.
Yeah.
That like it's great to hear that one story, like Art, it's great to hear your story. You had these challenges, like you made it. And there's this growing voice that's not enough.
Yeah.
Right? Like we want to inspire a movement. And that's why in our website, if you go, we're not just a virtue fueled organization only. We're a movement for good because it is like the network of people on this journey together that's going to change the future of cities.
Yes.
And that's what's necessary. And that's part of the DNA that I got, or the thing in my mind. Like I've heard it, like when you hear a TED Talk, something happens in your brain because an idea is inserted and then you begin to grapple with the potential of the idea. And you're like, whoa, how do I help that come alive? And so when we talk with young people, like the way we see the world changing, these complex issues that have been around for centuries, and like poverty and hunger and things, you need to inspire enough people at one period of time in the earth to find each other and like get active. The concept of new power, like companies can no longer like control the message.
Yes.
Like the marketing team, like hold it in because there's this thing that's saying, I need to come out of the box because the solution needs to be big enough to tackle the problem. And sometimes we're afraid to sit under the burden of the problem. And I think the young people are saying, like, please sit under the weight of the problem and then come alongside of me to help me solve it.
Practically, how do you do that?
So one is, I think, being on a journey of discovery with people together. Like, it's not like, hey, let me do my thing and I'll throw it over the wall, tag you're it, it's your turn.
Yeah.
So it's a commitment to walk alongside. So there's a pattern, I guess, of how you do it that I think it's important. I like to talk about co-creation. That one, you need to, so let me pace myself. One is you have to have proximity to the problem.
Okay.
You cannot solve a problem you're not willing to have proximity to.
Okay.
So if you don't have a commitment to do that, like, get out of the room and let somebody else come in.
Yeah.
So in our case, we have to be committed to understand childhood poverty, its implications,
Yeah.
the root causes, and be present. Like, be present in it.
Yeah.
On a day-to-day basis. That's important. Proximity to the problem.
Yeah.
And then the willingness to co-create with those that are impacted by the problem the most. So be in that journey for us as young people, Black and brown, and others growing up in this issue in urban communities, and empowering them to design, to dream, to build together.
Yeah.
And then to actually share the wisdom of our generation with them.
Yeah.
They've got skills that we don't have just because they're just created, that generation, for a certain thing.
Yeah.
We share the wisdom of our generation. We support it. And then the last thing, I think, in that, as you go do that, you make room for courageous conversations.
Yes.
You got to talk about the important things.
Yeah.
The important things. And if you're not willing to do that, I think even if you've got a great plan, it will fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have the courageous conversation.
So I'm sitting here thinking, as a business owner, of someone who's passionately committed to the space that I'm in, of people development, people growth, building great teams, helping companies with their hiring strategy and recruitment and all that kind of stuff. I hear your comment about proximity, the problem. I'm all in. Yeah. Like, what do I do? Do I quit my job? Do I come? How do I do that? I often wrestle with that kind of stuff because I'm like, I don't want to be somebody who just goes, oh, I'll throw money.
Yeah.
To somebody else who's doing something with not willing to get myself in there. But do you hear my question?
I do.
I'm like, because I can resource this by not staying in my lane, but I can say, hey, I'm actually good at what I do.
Yeah.
I'm going to go generate wealth to support you to go and do what you do. Or do I really need to be personally my proximity? No, I need to actually get involved, or am I the right person to do that? Do you know what I'm saying?
I hear you 100%. So when we talk about mission and vision for City on a Hill, one of the things we say is we are about transforming cities and families.
Yeah.
By one, restoring hope.
Yeah.
Enhancing quality of life.
Yeah.
And advancing justice for all generations.
Yeah.
That's how we frame those key things are important.
Same again.
Yeah. So transforming cities and families.
Yep.
By man, you put me on the spot there. Yeah. By restoring hope.
Yes.
Enhancing quality of life.
Yeah.
And advancing justice.
Okay.
For all generations. And then we do that, our dream of the measures of success, the metrics, right? So how do we know we arrived?
Yes.
So we know we will arrive when we see a world or a city, in our case right now, starting with Milwaukee, a world free from poverty in all of its forms, whether it's material, emotional,
so just
physical,
a small
spiritual,
mission.
Just a small
Very
mission.
Small.
It's got to be big.
Why do you dream bigger, dude?
I like it's got to be big because it's got to go beyond me.
Yes,
right? It's got to go beyond my lifetime.
That's fantastic,
and that's important. So, but I say that to your question to frame this. When you're in the mission of city building, you actually need the diversity of gifts. We believe, like, the network for good, the movement for good, we're helping not just create. We believe those things already exist. We need to tap into it and then increase it.
Yeah.
You actually need a diverse set of skill sets to create almost a city within a city on a hill.
Okay.
You need the gifts of whatever the various lanes to actually function together. So I think it's actually a detriment if you chose to stop doing what you're good at and you came and joined me, because I think there's something about what you do that you can bring to the work that we're doing.
Okay.
Right? Be good at your craft.
Yep.
Do great. Like, build the world, make the world better in what you do, but bring that trade, that skill, that influence into something like the network City on a Hill is building.
Okay.
Because really, we're in a lot of ways rebuilding cities.
Yes.
That need the capacity to build wealth within themselves.
Okay.
You cannot subsidize change. You actually need to help people create an economic engine to rebuild communities.
Wow. This
And
is
so
awesome.
You can't do that if you just throw the money.
Yeah.
That company or the youth entrepreneurs, they will exist for 5 years until that subsidy's there, and then they will go out of business
Same as
because they don't have a business model that works.
when people who win the lottery, they end up
They don't have
within a
the
few
skills.
years and they have nothing. It's all gone.
Yeah. And so I would say come on the journey with us and bring the gift that makes you unique and powerful, because that is who you are. And then when you join our movement, come and replicate your DNA into our network. And what that means practically is like come into a space with our young people or a parent on the journey seeking to say, I have dreams for my kids. I just don't know how to do it. Come and share of who you are, not just your stuff, but like your heart.
Yes.
Come share resources, but share of your life
Yeah.
and your journey and the skill set. Help us build new cities.
Yeah.
And then I think this is something from Titus that I'd like to learn more about. How do we help entire groups of people like go on a mission journey together, like somewhere else in the world,
Yeah.
and see how change can happen?
Yeah.
I would love to do that with my team.
Yeah.
To expand. So my journey has enabled me to see the world in a different way. I would like my entire team to be on a mission to see the world is bigger than your zip code.
Yep.
The world is bigger than your journey. You got to be constantly learning
Yes.
and challenging yourself to expand your paradigm and your ability to dream the bigger dream.
Okay. This is good.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking, I'm feeling like really little, like, wow, you're transforming the world. This is awesome. And then you're saying, hey, I want to bring my team. And I'm like, ooh, I can join on this. All right. So I'll take your team. We'll go and do something that we've figured out, which is, that's why we created the Titus Catalyst Fund as like a foundation.
Right.
But the brand is about Give Global. Like the world is bigger than your zip code, as you say. And I want to take people on a journey of generosity, and generosity are time, talent, finances, resources. But I think in exchange, I'm thinking we have a wonderful team of people who are passionate, entrepreneurial, who whatever their life journey has brought them to, they're part of Team Titus.
Yeah.
And I would know that many of them, especially in the southeastern Wisconsin area, would love to be a part of what you're doing in some way, mentorship, whatever it is, whatever the
Wonderful.
programs, that'd be cool. It's one of those wrestles where I think probably many of our listeners are like, I want to give into that, but I don't know how to. Is it just a check, or is it can I come and serve? And I think recently I've gone through my own sort of bit of a discovery, really, of recognizing how much pain people have gone through, and some they've just not known how to come out of that, and so they stay in that place of just deep pain, trauma, trial. And I've historically gone, that person's just got a lot of drama in their life.
Right.
And yeah,
Yeah.
because from the earliest memories they've ever had, that was what life was. It was very painful, traumatic,
Sure.
and a lot of trial. And they just learned to become survivors, lurching from one thing to the next, but no one's actually taught them how to, like you say, taking heads of households and teaching them, training them, mentoring them, bring them and helping them to become, having the tools and resources to lead well, to serve well, to love well, to work well, to ideate and dream.
Yeah.
Permission to dream.
Yeah. Wow.
What about that?
Yeah.
What about giving people permission to dream? And it sounds like that's what you're doing. Giving, like you said right at the beginning, to be able to sit with that that single mom whose daughter has just commit suicide or attempted to commit suicide. The pain and trauma of that. Like,
it's life changing.
How do you help somebody through that to give them hope again?
Yeah, I think one thing that when I hear you say that is that, as a leader, is constantly being reminded that the power that there is in losing control, and pain often is a way to help us understand that.
Yeah.
Because when I try to control it, define it, put a metric to it, there's some things that are hard or that just doesn't apply.
Yeah.
Right. And when I'm willing to yield control.
Yeah.
And go on the journey incredible things can happen. Sometimes being with that mom, for example, or in that journey, like I can't control the pain. I can't bottle it, right?
Yeah.
But I can be present and be with that person. And in that community, in that moment, those are
Yeah.
moments of truth. Really powerful things can happen that are life changing, both for
Yeah.
the individual that's going through that season, both, and also you who are there in that journey
Yeah.
in yourself. It's just hard to create that, but it's life
Yeah.
creates those moments of truth
Yes.
and being on the journey enough to not miss them when they happen.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like deep compassion,
Exactly.
having compassion for people
Yeah.
in their pain, in their loss, in their challenge and trial, and be willing to sit there and go there,
Absolutely.
and to you understand it enough.
Absolutely.
Understand it enough on it. I think it's hitting me as the understanding enough on an individual level. It's a person.
Yeah.
Who's gone through pain and trial, and saying, I will walk you through this. I'll walk you out of this. I'll walk you and show you where to step.
Yeah.
And we're going to come through it with you.
Yeah. And I think when you walk into that room with someone, just like any journey of an entrepreneur, where you're out of your comfort zone, out of your element, those are where life, world-changing ideas come from. Like you get out of your lane,
Yeah.
you bring your knowledge and you apply it to a different industry or something. In the journey of pain, coming into a room, being in that moment, you begin to see the root of the problems. And that's where like transformational ideas of the entrepreneur get ignited.
Yes.
And some people, I imagine, never experience that because they never give themselves permission
Yeah.
to go into that room, to be uncomfortable, to find that person that's half across the city that they would never run into unless they made the time to be present.
Yeah.
And so I think for those that feel powerless to say, man, I'll watch the news, turn on 10 o'clock and watching the news. What can I do? I think just take that first step, right? Find a consistency to be present, walk in that journey, and then ideas will come to you as you're in it.
Wow. What do you, when you look at this year ahead, we're kind of top of the year. What are you hoping for this year? What are you looking forward to?
So one of the big things is we're relaunching our new brand. We've been spending a lot of time listening.
Yeah.
So we focus on a couple of things that's sitting on a hill we call it our, like jumping the S-curve.
Yeah.
Like we got to jump into 21st century. We got to do some way different out of 20 years. Like what is, people call it the pivot, the pandemic thing shifting. What is the thing?
Mm-hmm.
So we've spent a year listening, deeply listening to our stakeholders and family, parents, youth, board members, etc., so that we could step into deeper levels of love.
Yeah.
Love of ourselves, love of the world, love of our community, love of each other, love of our neighbor, etc.
Yeah.
And in that, then to begin to step into learning.
Yeah.
What are we learning about all those things?
Yeah.
What are the gaps? And then last of all, stepping into leadership, leading, becoming what the world needs in this moment. So going through those layers. So as we think about that, we want to bring a group of leaders this summer from around the world. We're putting something out into the world to say, there's this, a friend of mine launched a book called The Vine, Stories of Hope from Around the World.
Yeah.
So she launched it in New York City at the end of last year. And it was her journey of like a Jerry Maguire of like saying like, well, I'm writing this letter, right? And so she wrote this book from people, and like the Dalai Lama did a foreword to it. And it's got 40 letters of leaders from all over the world that have said their story, their journey of leadership, the hero's journey.
Yes. So
they compiled all these stories. They launched it. It was a bestseller. It was on the, the big screens in New York City. And so I had the honor, privilege to be with her to launch this book. And she's bringing together family offices of great wealth from all over the world, princes and princesses from Saudi Arabia and others that are a new generation that's saying like, we wanted to use the wealth of our family to solve real wicked problems.
Yes.
Right. And so they're investing in all these other areas.
Yeah.
And so she's doing events. I think they're doing one in San Francisco. They're doing one in Ireland. And I said, would you come? And a friend of mine, Adria Dunn, she actually grew up in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And so I said, Adria, would you come to Milwaukee and talk about your book? We want to bring a group of leaders from Milwaukee together to take on, we call it cultural diplomacy and philanthropy and big dreams. And we'll make Milwaukee's story part of that to benefit City on a Hill. So that's this July, we're just beginning to put all that together. So that's big time for us to join the work and mission of what we do to this global movement for good across, leaders from across the world. So we want to invest leaders to come and see Milwaukee and hear the story of what we're about.
That's big. That is really big. I want to get
and
close.
I want to invite you to that as
that's what I was waiting for. I was like, come on.
The invite is to you to come and join us as the details come together.
I'm coming. Clear my schedule. That sounds. Those are the rooms that I want to be in. I want to be in the rooms with people when I say like people who have a heart to bring transformation.
Absolutely.
And I'm recognizing what you do with City on a Hill. We can sometimes look at all of these big world changes here, but there are people who you're working with right now, City on a Hill, who have come through generations of poverty and never been given permission to dream. But there are seeds inside them of dreams and hopes and world-changing ideas. But to be able to give the individuals like that permission to dream and say what's in there, that's also the room I want to be in. I want to be in the room with people who've never even asked. Or somebody asked, just even the past week, I said, I was confused. Somebody was like, oh, when people walk in a room and you're constantly feeling like you're judged or you're imposter syndrome, you shouldn't be there, you're not invited. And I was thinking, I've never felt like that. And I was like, and I said it, I was like, I never even thought about that. And it really hit me. I was like, well, I didn't even realize, really? Is that what everyone thinks about? And I was like, I don't think that way. And they're like, that's called privilege. And I was like, really? And I was like, I just have never thought that. And I'm thankful for my parents and the upbringing. I've had the privilege of traveling a lot and been spent a lot of time in some of the poverty stricken places in the world. But I'm often think, well, I'm here to be a gift and help people, and I love that. And why wouldn't people love me? And I'm thankful for the programming of that from a very, very early age, and it has served me well. But I'm also going, oh, that's not how everyone thinks, and I want to help people to realize that they have value. They have exactly the same worth. They're worthy of the same air that I breathe. Sure. Like we're not valued differently. Everyone has equal value and a place in the world, but also there's permission to dream and permission to hope, permission to find your place in the world that is a beautiful piece. Yeah. And
when I heard you talk before about, hey, should I, as an example, like, should I leave what I do and come do this?
Yeah.
I think there's a real powerful thing about you winning at your craft and building something of meaning in the world, and then releasing an invitation to somebody else, because there's identity in the invitation.
Yeah.
Come and follow me.
Yeah.
Build this thing that's going to change the world. And if you don't have that thing, your invitation doesn't carry the same power. But some people are just waiting on the invitation. Yeah. Because part of their identity is in that invite.
Yeah.
Come and follow me and build this thing. And, and some people never get the invite. Yeah. And within the invite, there's the power to dream. And so I that's why I'm excited about the work that you're doing and what you built and the community that you're building. Yeah. Because that's creating opportunities that you can be a part of something and invite somebody to be on the journey with you. Yeah. And as well as we need to make our invite to families and young people we support more compelling
Sure.
And the only way we can do that is to bring the assets of a diverse network from all over the world that is building cities and the future of nations.
Amen.
So let's go do this. Right?
That's what I feel. Let's go do this. It's funny. I'm like, it just hit me then. I'm like, there's a big, obviously, a trend right now of social media influencers. And like, I want to be an influencer. What do you want to do? But what would you do? Influence. Like, okay. Like, I just want to influence. I want people to pay me to be an influencer. I want people to sponsor me to be an influencer, and I'll rave about products and services and brands, and that's what I'll do. I'll gain followers, and I'll just tell things, like, versus I'm actually creating something that other people can follow,
right?
And other people can get on board with, and building something, and that actually transforms people's lives and gives people a craft and gives people resources and tools to change maybe the path of generations.
Absolutely.
I'm seeing it. You've really helped me actually to kind of make sense of where do I best fit in that as we continue growing. And Titus has had a privilege of growing 50-something% a year, which is great. I feel massively humbled and privileged to be a part of something. And we would say, we're creating a movement.
Yeah.
And taking people and organizations on a journey of generosity. Wow. If they can use their what they produce, not always just financial wealth, but what they produce, their talents, resources, tools, and wealth, to actually make an impact in individuals' lives and people's lives and families' lives, we all sleep better. We have a long-standing client of ours, and they asked for a reduction, like a discount in our services. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, they have been a long-standing client. They do spend a lot of money with us, so I should probably give them a discount. And I'm thinking, I wonder who will sleep better at night because of the discount. Like, it's not going to make me go, oh, that was so great. I'm glad I gave them a discount. But I don't think it's going to make them go, oh, I'm glad I saved some money. And so I said, what discount would you like? And they told me, and I said, all right, I'll take that amount and we'll give it to it happened to be a company in Milwaukee. I said, we'll give it to something. What is something your company or organization is passionate about in Milwaukee? And they're like, it would be the veterans homes of southeastern Wisconsin. I was like, great, I'll give you the discount, but we'll give it to them. And it made me, it was kind of like, it was almost something said it to me. I said it, but it was almost like somebody said it to me. And I'm like, I like that idea. Sure. Wow. And they smiled, and they were stuck because they were like, shoot, I wanted the discount, but they smiled because they were like, that's a win-win. Yeah. The win-win is I didn't make more money and they didn't save more money, but we took that and were able to build homes for veterans. And I was thinking, wow, that's what I want to set my course in my life for. We take, it's a new way to live. We're actually doing business together for good, for profit, for good. Right. So we've set our course as a company saying we are a for-profit, for good company. Yeah. And that makes me sleep really, really well. I'm like, oh, we're making an impact. I love it. I feel privileged to be sitting here with you, Art, because what you're doing is good, and we want to assign ourselves to being a part of what you're doing by finance, but also by resources that we have, the hands, the head, the heart of people on our team who can do good for you and do good for the mission that you're wanting to make an impact generationally. Sure. Thank you so much. That means a lot. And that's not why we brought you here. I just feel like this is so cool. I think it's great what you're doing, and we want to be a part of it. So thank you. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your story and sharing your heart with us. And we're, I imagine that there are many people listening just going, I'm in, let's go, baby. Let's do this thing. Anything we can do to anyone who listens to this, we're happy to share our notes. Anything on our journey, we're on this mission to build people achieve their purpose in life. So anything we can do to do that, we're happy to help. I'm sure a whole bunch of people going, I'm in. Wait, where's the directions? Where's the map? How do I find you? Yeah. So the best way for people to get a hold of us is through our website, cityonahillmke.org. And then in terms of the second Saturday of every month,
we've got like our biggest outreach for health. People come, we get 100, 200 people come through. We'll always have volunteer opportunities there. So that's a consistent, it's been around for 20 years.
Wow.
And so that's a easy way for people to quickly plug in.
Yes.
And say, I want to just build relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and you just come. I just come one Saturday, map it out. You come around 11, stay
Yeah.
till about 2:33, or anywhere in between.
Yeah.
And so that's an easy entry point. If you want to like mentor a young person, or that just takes more time, we can do that. But yeah, our website's the best way to get a hold of us, and we're always happy to help people. Or even if a company wants to bring their all their employee base to do a special project, we can help plan something for them.
That's awesome. City on a Hill, mke.org.
Yep.
Awesome. Art Serna, you can be found on LinkedIn or any other social media platforms, I imagine.
Correct. Yep.
It's a privilege to have you here today. Thank you.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.